Hey everyone, how's it going? Apologies for the croaky voice. I am suffering with hay fever. Everyone else is as well. I just wanted to chat to something. It's been on my mind, and I really think it's worth discussing and raising. And as always with most of the subjects I talk about, they're kind of things I've seen, and then I feel like maybe it needs expanding on. Maybe we need to go a little bit deeper into it. So there's a lot of stuff online about men's mental health, men's awareness of men's like suicide awareness, which is all a huge importance, obviously, because the amount of it's become a real kind of tragedy now. The amount of people that die from suicide, in comparison to kind of other conditions, which you can kind of catch. And I think the thing is with suicide is you don't catch it. It's not a condition that you kind of get from someone, and then leads to kind of like that kind of conclusion. It's something that is built up over a large amount of time. The journey, even though the kind of end result may be the same for a lot of people, obviously, the journey to get there is completely different. And so I believe that the way to deal with it, or the way to stop it from occurring and to help people overcome it, is different for everyone. And therefore it requires a bespoke look into people's lives, the way they perceive life's events, the way they feel about themselves. I mean, I've had my own experiences with suicidal thoughts. I deal with a lot of hormonal imbalance when I got my thyroid condition, and that leads to a lot of mood swings and a lot of confusion about who you are and what your worth is in the world. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is ending your life, or wanting to end your life, is kind of feeling like you have no other options. I kind of see it as the big red button in your mind, and it's like the last thing we can do. Okay, we need escape from this pain. We need escape from these thoughts, because there's no escape. Like when it's in your head, it's like a captive kind of container, right, in your head. And that's the thing with mental health and kind of life trauma. When we come out of like the womb, we come out blank. We come out naive to the world, right? And then as we move through life, especially due to kind of society's requirements, depending on whether you're male or female, we're different, but everything is compounded. You're finding ways to survive in life. Things happen to you, like terrible things, that your mind is not used to dealing with, whether that be due to environment you're put in, such as like war, for example, or whether it's a failure of your loved ones to provide what you should be provided for. And these feelings, that with the emotions that come with this, they're all natural emotions. We're meant to have those emotions. We're built with those emotions. Fear, flight, freeze. They're all built in. They're not wrong. But the issue being is that we're running on a system which is outdated, right? For the modern world, and especially with social media, we're not designed to have all these negative inputs, which did lead to a huge amount of confusion into who we're meant to be, what we're meant to achieve, where we're meant to be in life. What's our idea of success? What's our idea of being rich? Is it rich? Is money really rich, or is rich like personal rich? Like how you feel, your loved ones, where you live, your experiences in life. So it all comes down to a really extremely confusing life. Okay, and your brain is really not set up currently to deal with all these extra kind of inputs. And so I think people are finding that they're getting to the point quicker nowadays, where they don't feel like they have a place in the world. And I feel that needs to be talked about, because everyone has their own journey. I don't think you can solve the issue of suicide by just saying we need to be aware. I think we need to go back into people's lives. We need to train people to be aware of what their brain's doing, not just like, as in, support them to look back into their trauma, into their own life, so they can kind of reprogram their brains, so they can remove these, or allow themselves, not even removing it, allow themselves to sit comfortably knowing that they're enough with these feelings. And the only way to do that is by providing a supportive and vulnerable environment, where education is key. Also, I think neuroscience is a hugely important subject. We talk about going to the gym and being physically fit and knowing all about the body, and obviously people make they set up gyms, and they set up everyone's a physical expert nowadays, and stretching and that, so you don't broken the body. No one's set up a mind gym. No one's set up a place which teaches people, or how to kind of no one's put the same amount of importance that we do on physical into mental, and it's confusing as well, because when you start talking about physical, you start talking about what you look like, and then that's kind of going down the same line as kind of I'm not enough, I need to look this way, because otherwise I won't fit into society, I won't attract the other race, or the other gender, should I say, etc., etc. It's very confusing, and then there's these things that are set up in our brain that are actual organs, the kind of knowing about why when you get stressed, you're you can't see logic, like taking your life is not a logical decision. Everyone knows that after you do that, there's nothing, but what your brain is thinking is that if I do this, at least I won't feel mental kind of pain and trauma and anguish. It's an extremely complex but fascinating subject, which is, I just feel, even though putting it out there, raising the flag for suicide and mental health and knowledge is great, but if you really want to solve the issue, you need to have the really hard conversations, and you need theoretically the only person that can really fix themselves is the people going through it. They just need to be supported by other vulnerable people in an environment, and theoretically taught how to do it, or shown the road, but they got to walk it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it, right? And I just think that's really, really important. And I think it's an aspect of the subject that isn't talked about enough, and so I'm going to talk about it, and here I am. This is what I'm here to do: rock the boat, talk about the things, trigger the hell out of people. Life is complicated, but also amazing. A change in your perspective on your life's events and the way you feel about things can really be the difference between going down that route of suicidal thoughts. And even when you have those thoughts, having the toolkit to think about them in a different way. See them as more like a gift, someone trying to show you something that you need to fix instead of someone telling you something that you need to do. But I'll talk about that later. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there. And as always, anyone's comments, they're welcome. Feedback, happy to chat. Or, if you want to reach out and have a chat, happy to do that as well. Anytime. Ladies.